Hello, 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 troopers. Because those of you still following us, you are troopers. And today, before Mel and Eric join, I just want to say this quickly. I'm grateful for those of you who trust us and who are still watching and believing what we're sharing. We were not instructed to share this segment in the series of what we share with you because we are bored, as we say every week. But we were instructed by the divine to share this, and we were told those who are meant to benefit from it will benefit. And tonight, I just want to reach out to someone that when I first met her, I never would have believed that she would watch anything like this. But she has been invested, very supportive, one of the first people to watch these segments as soon as we put them out. And last night, I received a picture from her of snow in her yard with similar footprints to what I've been calling reptilian footprints. And I am mentioning it, I will not name her, but I am mentioning it so you can know that this is not only happening to us, that these beings are on our planet, and for whatever reason, they're meandering and wandering around certain neighborhoods. And I don't know why they were outside of her house, but I will insert the picture here because you can't really tell who sent it. But this picture is not from my house, but the footprints are identical. And so I wanted to bring that up to show you that Eric, Mel, and I are not unique in everything that we share. And I also want to tell you that last night we had a meeting with our spiritual team, and we specifically asked if we need to stop sharing these segments, and we were given a hard no, which means we need to continue sharing it. And for those of you who are concerned that I am suffering for this long, I have bad news. We were told this is something we're going to have to deal with for 7 years. But daunting as it is, I am told it will be in fluctuations. I won't be dealing with it every day for 7 years. I'm sure there'll be times when it will calm down. So, again, my soul chose this job, chose this contract, chose this experience in this lifetime, and I am humanitarian to the bone. So clearly, that is why I picked it. So basically, in a nutshell, I'm suffering for all of us, not just for me, because the whole goal behind this is to make the world a better place for all of us. So enough of my little spiel, and now I'd like to welcome Mel. Mel, welcome back to JENIFLIX.
Hi, thanks you for having me again. Good to be here.
Always good to have you. And Eric, the comedian of the group. Welcome, Eric. Welcome back to JENIFLIX.
I'm not really that funny.
Well, just so you guys know, he is very, very funny. And in the middle of some very intense operations, he says and does the funniest things that, although this is unique and different, he makes it entertaining and fun. And I've told him more than once over the last 2 days that when he is tired of doing this, he needs a microphone and he needs to get on the stage and become the number one. Why can't I think of what I want the name? Comedian. And that I would be there to promote him. So I am not exaggerating when I say Mel and I are blessed to have him because he does break up the intensity of what we're dealing with. So since you're on the screen, Erik, why don't we start with you today? And I want you to share whatever is coming to your soul that we should table because I do not prepare an agenda for how we do this anymore.
Well, first, my soul is telling me that I probably shouldn't eat so much pizza. So that's the first thing. I definitely ordered way too much. So yeah. So we had in sort of a red alert kind of, I would probably call it, to where we were sent to Belgium. And so I was like, you know what? I'm tired of messing with these guys. And so I got in my angelic eagle form, which seems to be my form of choice. I usually don't like birds, but I guess I'm starting to like them now. And so I flew as fast as I could over to Belgium. So I'm flying around the castle that we normally go to. I believe that in that where that's where Dutchman is originally from, right?
Mel, you know, what's that castle called? You know the name.
No, it's the Mother of Darkness Castle. That's what it's.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know the French pronounced name. I can't think of it right
Yeah.
now. No, and Dutchman is not from there because he's from Holland. He's from
Oh,
the.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm flying around this castle, right? So I'm looking down. Last time, this is the same place where we had dinosaurs. So I'm looking, I'm like, okay, this is going to be dinosaur time. I look down, no dinosaurs. So I'm instantly disappointed that this mission is not going to provide me with dinosaurs to play with. But instead, I look down and I'm like, well, there's stuff moving around in like the tree lines and stuff. So I'm looking and I'm like, it's like these like soldiers that like have frog heads. I'm like, huh, that's weird. Well, I can't really ride one of those. So I decided, and this is really ignorant, but I did it anyway. So I decided, I'm like, huh, what do, what do people really hate when birds fly around when you poop on them? So I was using my eagle poop to cover the frog army with, and I was doing it like randomly. And then I was just kind of watching to see what they would do. And they kept blaming each other. Like they kept getting hit with eagle poop. And then they would like look around, like look at each other, like, what are you doing? And so that was kind of funny. And then I decided, well, there's too many of them that I'm not going to be able to just, go down there and just deal with that. So I thought, I'm just going to land on the roof of this castle. So I'm on top of the roof and I'm like, okay, well, there's no real entrance to get in this place. And I know that I'm being pulled in it. I need to go in the castle. So I decided, well, shoot, I can fly anyway. I'm just going to fly through a window. So I just kind of flung down and went through a window, and I was in this like big ballroom, and everybody in there was in like jet black clothes, like very, very formal attire, like suits and dresses, like they were having some kind of like party for like high echelon people. So I'm looking around. Everybody sees me fly through the window and break the glass, and I come in. I got wings and everything. I look like a bird, and everybody's freaking out. And so they start running, except for one person. So I instantly noticed that there's one person that hasn't moved. And so I just kind of stared at him for a little bit. And once everybody left, he had finally said, Michael, I know you're out there. Just come on in. And so Archangel Michael flies in and he stands right beside me. And so we have this kind of a little discussion. And I was like, who are you? This guy's like, I am the boss of the bosses of the Anunnaki. I'm the one that won. That was his exact words. I'm the one that won. So if any of you know anything about the Anunnaki, which I do know quite a bit, there was a war amongst the Anunnaki, and the winner is who got to claim Earth, and the rest of them went on to other things. So I knew exactly who I was talking to. And this entity, and he was in human form. Like he was like an old, like he was very dapper. Like he was older, like maybe in like 65. But he was just so smooth. And he was not scared of me at all. He was just very, very laid back. There was like, it was a very neutral energy. And so it made me be not so defensive. I was not defensive towards him at all. Once I felt his energy, I was like, okay, I'm not getting like a direct threat right now. And he knew Michael. So they ended up going off and having like a little chat. And so I was kind of feeling bad. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm not cool enough to talk to Anunnakis. So I just kind of waited and waited and waited. And I could tell by the body language, like it looked like they were negotiating something. So I just kind of waited around. And then once they started to make their way back, like I could tell the energy was good. Like that whatever they were talking about, they had probably worked out some kind of agreement. Because the Anunnakis, and I didn't know this because I don't know what the relationships between species are. Like I said, I'm still kind of learning these things. And so I don't necessarily know if the Anunnaki are good beings, if they're neutral beings, or if they're dark beings. I don't know. So I'm kind of learning these things as I go. So we go and they come back, and so Michael starts saying, well, here's the deal. Um there are things happening between the Freemasons, the Illuminati, and the Luciferians. And part of the deal is that they're free game, so we can go after them, and we can go after them, and there will be no like war between us and the Anunnakis. And then their part of the deal was, well, if they the Anunnaki want to build power grids everywhere. For what, I don't know. But they need to expand their power grid. He said they don't have enough. So he said, as long as you guys let me expand my power grid, we'll save this war for another day. And so that was the deal. Like, okay, that's the deal. And that was the basic. I mean, it was a very friendly, kind of conversation. It was like a bunch of guys, maybe we don't like this guy in the suit. He's kind of like, we know he's kind of sketchy, but he's telling some jokes. So we told some jokes back. And it was kind of like, okay, if you're not going to be a jerk today, we won't be jerks today, and we'll have a good time, and we'll drink scotch and not go home until 2 a.m. So that's kind of how that went. And there's a lot more to the story. I was given personal information about Jennylyn, Mel, and myself, and I'm not really privy to give that out. So I'm not going to speak on that. However, I do understand what the plan is, what the agenda is, and where we're going to be going from here, as far as well, other things happened after that we'll get into. But that I didn't see that part of the story, so that's going to be a Mel story. So I guess, Mel, if you want to pick up from there, that'd be a good spot.
Okay. Now I can't speak on that either, obviously, right? Whatever it is that you were told.
So if you're being told that you can, you can.
I understand.
I can't do it.
Let's just put it this way. I will not speak on what it is that we do, or is it, but there is an oversight committee. I will say this, okay. There is an oversight committee in the other realm who consists of beings from different otherworldly races, okay? And this oversight committee, as a matter of fact, as we were yesterday on the phone, taking care of Jennylyn, some of the stuff that was going on, I get a visual from this oversight committee and a specific person on this oversight committee. and sort of alerting me that we should go there and speak to them. And I knew that was, Erik's job to do that because he had contacted them before. So I told Erik, and Erik went there, and this oversight committee, if you so will, was given him the information about all three of us. And the information that Erik's referring to is something that pertains to our role on this planet and our role in this lifetime, among other things. Because we all had some questions, and this was information that we up to this point didn't really know. Okay, so for each of us, we got some information that was very interesting, and some of us had to sit with for a while. But the interesting thing is that neither one of us, up until some more recent times, knew that there was this oversight committee, which actually looks and watches over humanity and those who are assisting humanity. It's almost as if, they want to make sure that no rules are broken, I would assume, and that humanity as a whole is being provided for in whatever it needs in order to evolve in the manner that it is meant to. Okay, so there is something in place that neither of us knew existed in that form. Okay. And it has nothing to do with otherworldly beings that are in the galactic realm, that are in galactic ships and so forth. I'm not speaking of that. I know that some people might think, well, is it the Galactic Federation or any of that stuff? No, it actually is a panel. It literally is a panel of different types of beings. So now that's the only thing I will say on that subject. But the one thing that I want to pick up on is something else that we've done over this past week. And that is, every time Jennylyn gets attacked in some shape or form, this is how I do it. I go in and I connect with the energy, and the energy leads me somewhere. Okay, that's kind of how and I've said this before. The energy leads me to a certain place, or I get visuals of something, or yes.
Don't lose that thought. I just want to interject for the people following so they can get the picture. We have been able to decipher how this whole thing plays out. Of the three of us, I hate to admit it, I'm the weaker link because both Erik and Mel can see. I cannot see. I get clear messages and I feel and smell. So what happens is I am used. The attacks are allowed to happen to me because then I need to call Erik or Mel to help me clear it up. But that's usually because once they get to my vessel, then it takes them to the assignment for that night. Now, Mel, they can follow what you're saying.
And you know what? It's perfect what you just said. And I want to say this for those who are on the other side who are watching, that is exactly what's happening. Okay. Every time you attack Jennylyn, we're not just helping Jennylyn get rid of it, but you are leading us to you and to our next assignment. So you are shooting yourself in the foot by attacking her, because we always, always, always find you, and we always, always, always come after you at some point, if not right away, some other time. So yes, that is precisely what's happening, and Jennylyn is being sort of this is why the attacks on Jennylyn are being allowed, right? So that you lead us to those places. And your viewership might wonder, well, why don't they just tell you where to go? There are rules and universal laws in place to where higher beings and the divine cannot tell us, oh, you need to go over there and do this, or you need to go over there. Everything that we receive has to be initiated or come from a place in the physical. Okay, so we cannot just, without any kind of provocation, go somewhere and do something. There has to be something that was done that will then allow us to take action. So again, every time you're being attacked, these people don't realize that they're actually giving us free reign to go after them and dismantle their stuff, which is what happened every single time.
So yeah, that's what I saw when we were at
interference. Okay, people, I was on TV yesterday. I was interviewed by the Pakistani journalist. Nothing. I interviewed Erik the other night. We got some interference, but I want all of you watching this to see how much interference we get when we are doing this segment. I use the same television room. This is the same studio every time. Nothing changes. Okay? Point made. I'm done. Okay, Erik, over to you. Back to what
Okay.
you're saying.
Well, Jennylyn, the weather today is going to be nice and oh, I thought we were doing the news.
Yeah.
So
So,
that
sorry, Erik, I thought you were finished.
I am finished.
I want to say this. I am suffering, guys. There hasn't been a day over the last 3 months where I haven't been massively attacked. And for those behind the attacks, if you think you can break me, think again. Ain't ever going to happen. I am divinely protected. And although you may think that what you are doing is affecting me, it doesn't for very long. Because the other two people with me on this show are very able and capable. And all I have to do is to reach out, and one of them or both of them come to my rescue. And guess what it does? It takes you down. It takes you down. And I am aware that people who are sharing information that is meant to be hidden are committing suicide, having car accidents, overdosing. But anyone trying to come at the three of us to do any of that and then publish, we killed ourselves, we OD'd, whatever, you can't kill everybody. And you're going to be killing half of America because guess what? People are awake. People are awake. And what was in the dark has now come to light. So when we share these stories, and to you guys, it sounds like it's out there. Those who know that are holding high positions in this country, it's not a secret for them. And that's what I want to say. So all of those of you attacking me, you're attacking us. And if you're not sure of what I'm saying, go take a look at all the people that have been taken down. And they are not Joe Blow or Joe Smo from down the block. These are people in places that I would never imagine would even know that I exist. But I'm a hot number on their radar. And I don't know how I got there. I was just trying to stop the shit, or the crap, sorry, that a Chinese woman and a Dutch man were doing to me. But clearly, this was a part of my divine mission, and I was running from it. But when God allowed what those two people did to me to do, it was to force me on the path that I was brought to the world to fulfill. And by the way, last week we told you Dutchman was in his garage, and the next day he came at us. So now we think he's on a donkey cart because Erik and Mel dealt with him. And I don't know if you remember, I shared that I was woken up in the morning and given the name Martin, and we didn't know who Martin was. Between the three of us, by the end of the week, we knew who Martin was. Sandra Tang, the 50,000 or whatever you paid to Martin to do what you paid him to do to me. Will you find lots more Martins and pay them all 50,000? Because I would love to see you drain your bank account and listen to me joke about it. All right, Mel. You're on the screen, and over to you.
Sure. So back to New Mexico real quick. Actually, on that occasion, what we did was it took us, when we're in a location, we did end up taking a side trip. Me and Erik, to a location that had to do with child trafficking. Okay, so I was taken there. I noticed it first, and I said, "Come over here, Erik. We got to do something." And there were some kids that were actually hidden in a place, and I'm going to let Erik speak on that exactly what it is that he does, because he's the one who took over, and how we actually are able to affect change. Because remember, we're not in physical form; we are in our spiritual form, in our ethereal form. So when we go in, we clearly can't open the door for someone, right, to let the kids out or undo their binds or their whatever it is that might be happening. But there's something that we can do most times than not, and Erik has done it a couple times.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Before Erik comes on, we have to share the story with my house guest.
Correct. I was
Oh,
going to.
Russian. Okay, good. Go for it.
I was actually going to lead into this because this is kind of like, so, again, trafficking is a big problem. And this is nothing new, right? I mean, it's anybody that watches, maybe not mainstream media, but alternative news and social media outlets knows that human trafficking is a big problem, right? And again, we did, something in New Mexico where we assisted a few younger, children to escape. But let's get straight to that story that you're
Can I start the story and then you
absolutely.
and Erik take over?
And I think Erik needs to pick up from that because he's the one who went there. Yeah.
Okay. So I had a house guest who's Russian, and we were hanging out in my living room on a three-way call. He and I were in my living room, and Erik and Mel were at their respective residences. And we're having a conversation. And all of a sudden, I literally felt someone like drumming on my head. And I had been feeling it for a while, but I didn't want to interrupt the conversation because the two guys were really having a really great discussion. But then it got so loud, I had to stop everyone and I go, guys, please forgive me. Same old, same old. Someone is drumming on my head, and it's so intense. It's like they want us to stop and give them our attention. So both Mel and Erik checked in to see who was around me. And they said they saw a woman. And so I was trying to figure out if it's a woman that I know who had crossed. But I go, does she have dark hair? And they said, nope, she's blonde. And Erik said, she's about 30 years old. And I said, but I don't know any blonde 30-year-old who has passed. And then I heard Mel say, either Mel or Erik said, I'm getting the Ukraine. And believe it or not, a lot of us have these gifts, a lot more than realize, because my guest, was a top engineer at Google, that I would never think would have any kind of understanding of this, said to me, I just heard in my head, Ukraine. I almost flipped over that he said that to me. So Mel and my house guest both got the name Ukraine. So off to Ukraine, Mel and Erik took off and went to investigate. Oh no, before we did that, Erik was trying to speak to this person because Mel said, ask her what we can do for her, why she's here. So Erik asked her, and she gave a blank stare, or Mel asked her and she gave a blank stare. And Erik said, she's just looking at me, but she's not saying anything. And then all of a sudden, my house guest says, maybe she can't speak English. Let me ask her in Russian. He asked her in Russian, and then I hand this over to Erik.
So once we kind of eliminated the language barrier, she spoke Russian, and we were starting to get some answers, and she understood everything, that's all the questions. Because what we would do is we would tell Sergey, hey, ask her this, and then he would ask, and then she would show us things or show me things. And so then like she would show me almost the exact location as to where they were at. It was west of Kiev, and there was definitely a trafficking ring. They had there was a French gentleman that came and was doing business with either they were either Czech or they were Ukraine gentlemen that were trafficking, and there were more girls. And then it struck me like, oh my gosh, like they're alive. These girls are alive. And so that changes the rules when when you see things that are alive. There are things now that I am powerless to do. So I have figured out how to do some things. I can't make them do anything, but I can change how they feel about things. So when I figured out what was going on and who's who, and we've got these girls here, and we're sitting here trying to figure out, like, we were starting to get bummed out at first because we knew what their fate was going to be, and we were helpless. Like, what do we do? And so I decided to go in, and that was when I kind of first realized that I could kind of do this. But I can pull energetically pull their soul away from them, and I can clean out the dark, and then I can put it back to where they will be more inclined to let these kids go. I can give them suggestions. I can get into their souls and give them suggestions through that, but I can't go to their physical body and do much of anything. So that's how that worked for me. So a lot of what I've done since then is when I need to do things, I just take their souls from them, or their energetic beings, whatever you want to call it. And then I can find the darkness in them, and I can take it out. I think Mel already pretty much knows how to do this stuff, but this is all like new technology to me. So I've been like doing it a lot.
But at the end of the day, what Eric is trying to tell you guys, when he did that, the men who were holding these girls hostages let the girls go. So we
Yes.
were able to free those girls, as well as either Mel or Eric helped the soul of the woman who came to us for help. They helped her to cross, and she
Right.
went to the light. But clearly, she was unselfish and didn't want to leave these girls captive. And thank God that we have these gifts. And whether you believe us or not, we are setting so many people free. We are setting so many souls free. So you may be looking at this show and thinking, why are you so proud of being beat up? Or why are you coming every week telling us they're torturing your soul? I am like the light. It's like I get the flame. They come, we light it, and we get the flame going, and we do the work, and we are saving souls, and we are changing the world at levels that we can't even say here because we have enough eyes on us. But if we could only tell you the level that we are changing the world, I would be so thrilled because then you would explain my suffering. Mel, I'm going to give it this to you now because we're coming up on an hour, and then maybe we can start wrapping until next week.
Yeah, there's one thing that I was just thinking of that's worth mentioning in this segment. Again, this is only a fraction of what we've done this week. Okay, there's so much. You can't all put it in this short amount of time. But one thing that was just brought to my attention that is worth mentioning here is at one point during the week, I received a list of places shown to me by otherworldly beings from space that are darker than others. So in order to explain that is I connect with otherworldly beings, and I was literally, taken up on the ship. Again, we're talking about otherworldly beings. We're not talking about the reptilians here, but other ones. Okay, actually, this particular. Okay, we're not revealing who that is. Okay, good. All right, never mind. So we're not going to say who it is, but let's just put it this way. I was taken there and I was shown specific areas, looking at the planet from space that were darker. They were showing me, they were pointing out specific areas all around the world that had darker color. Now, there's a lot of darkness going on in the world, but these ones were specifically. And I asked them, what's this? What's this? What's this? And I was, my vision honed in on those particular areas, and I was told where they are. And I made a list and I shared those lists with you and Eric, right? And I didn't know what to do with it. I don't usually go to these places or do anything unless we're prompted to do so, because everything's divine timing. So we don't go off on our own. We know eventually we'll be led to this. And here's what happened. Sure enough, a day later, or the next day, actually, in the morning, I'm doing my little morning routine with, my meditation and so forth, sitting in quietness. All of a sudden, I'm being drawn, and we can say this because it's already done. I was taken to California, to Southern California in particular, to LA. And I was like, okay, what are we doing here? Because I thought I'm going to go back to one of your people that have been torturing you, because a lot of it originates there, right? But instead, what was shown to me.
Don't say the name of the movie. Don't say the name of the star, because we don't want anybody suing us.
Right, that's fine, absolutely. But what I was shown at first is I was taken to a specific on Hollywood Boulevard, and I was taken to the specific name of a movie star that was on Hollywood Boulevard. And it was a male, okay, or it is a male, and they showed his star to me, but with no explanation. So I thought to myself, what am I going to do with this information? Okay, well, I'm sure I'll get more info when I need to. And then I actually was shown, I rose up again in my angelic form as well over the city, and I noticed that there's this big dome, this energetic dome that was over the city. Now, mind you, this dome was not a protection in a sense that was done by high vibrational beings. This dome was done by those people who do not have the best interest of those people at heart. So what I did was I basically sort of, I was guided to put my hands on this dome, infuse it with angelic energy. Took me a while because it was big. And then I did something else. I used a sword. That's basically the best way I can describe it, because I get an angelic sword too. I don't carry it all the time, maybe like Eric does, but it magically appears when you need one. It's just how it works. So and the sword sort of made this dome crumble. And I thought to myself, oh, okay, maybe this is, at this point, I didn't even put two and two together. It occurred to me later that this was one of the locations that was given by the otherworldly beings. But back to the Hollywood star, okay? I thought to myself, what am I supposed to do with this? Because I'm over here. What am I? So I went back there, and then I stood on it, and all of a sudden I was literally dropping into the ground, straight down from this star, from this Hollywood star. And basically, it wasn't about the Hollywood name that was on the star, but rather it was an X marks the spot. This is the best way to enter the space that you need to go next. And that's what that was. So I went all the way down, and I went down pretty far. And I went down, and I come into this space, and I don't see anyone. There's nobody there. And I instinctively, I don't know, I was just, asked to do this, and nobody's asking me per se, but I just know what to do. I blasted the entire place with light energy. It was almost like an explosion. Okay. And what that did was, when everything cleared up a little bit, I saw this figure sitting in front of me, which appeared to be, it wasn't a throne per se, but on a chair that sort of was acting like a throne, and it was sort of a higher up from the ground. And this figure was a male, and he wasn't in human form. He was actually a demonic. Okay, so he had red skin, the kind of demon those kinds of demons that when you see them, and he had horns. And I thought to myself, well, who the heck is this, right? Who is this? And I knew I had something to do with him. I was there for him. And interestingly enough, now I understood at that moment that I needed to blast a light because it disabled him. He couldn't do anything. He was literally just sitting there looking at me, and he couldn't move. He couldn't do anything. And this is when I pulled an Eric. Okay, I was pulling his soul. Yeah, I was pulling his soul out from his body. Okay, and this is one thing that I will say now that I have not had to do ever, and that I was guided to do that. For it's divinely guided. I took the soul and I wrapped it in like a protective layer, and I channeled these words. I spoke and invoking justice, that the soul cannot return until such time that this person redeems themselves and sort of does like heals that which needs to be healed. Okay, there was a bigger, so I knew whoever I was looking at was someone of significance in this grand scheme of things, in the darkness, in the realm of the darkness. And then I looked at just the shell of this individual, this demonic figure, and I said, what am I going to do with that now? So I walked toward him, and I, again, there's that sword, and I sort of took the head off, I did, and the whole body just seemed to be like, disintegrating. That's how it was presented to me, telling me that there was nothing else I needed to do. Later, when I asked my spirit team, who is this person? Because I couldn't identify who it is. And I'm not going to say who it is. All I know is this person, of course not. And we don't have that. Okay. But all I know is that this person is connected to the music industry. And this person is the man behind the man. Okay. And it is someone who belongs to a very high profile family in the United States. Okay. Let's just put it that way. And there are many, so, this won't reveal who it is, but just to give your audience an example. So I knew that this was the first location that whatever we were given, this was the darkness that on one of the locations, the first location I was given was in Southern California. And it wasn't, again, because of something would happen to you. It was because of whatever this person does or was doing or is doing. Now, interestingly enough, the soul of this individual, because this individual lives, is alive, he's living, he is currently without soul.
How is that possible for a person?
It is. It actually is. And I've never had to do this before. I'm not the one who I only took the soul out. It wasn't up to me to give it back. Okay. For some reason, the divine is holding on to his soul until he can't do no more damage. Because if this person, maybe the soul is so dark, because I wasn't cleaning it. It's so dark that it can't be cleansed in just one sitting or one go around. Okay. It probably must be that dark and that's significant that they just want to leave it. Now, there are actually, let's take it a step further. There are some people who speak of human beings walking on the planet who are soulless. Okay. They're called, some people refer to them as non-playing characters, NPCs. All right, there are such people. Okay, so right now he's an NPC. Okay, he does have a soul, but the divine is not giving up his soul until further notice. And I don't know what they're doing with it. But again, this is from an angelic perspective. When I act like this, I'm kind of like Eric. I don't act upon what Mel thinks needs to be done. I act in the capacity of my seraphim angelic form. Okay, and on behalf of the divine, on behalf of Archangel Michael, on behalf of the Most High. That's what happens. So again, I can't reiterate enough before I give it back to you, is that every time you are being attacked, Jennylyn, these people are leading us to different things. Okay, to different people, to different places, to be dismantled. They're shooting themselves in the foot every single time. Every time. So, and I don't know why I feel need to say, I think Michael speaks through me right now. You think you're winning? You just wait. Oh my goodness, this is a channel. Okay.
Channel on. Let's hear what Michael has to say to everyone.
Your time is up.
Erik, is Michael telling you?
They were Michael's. Okay. So
She just channeled a message from Archangel Michael, and he works with all three of us, with Erik, Mel, and I, because we are their team here on Earth. So those of you attacking me and planning to kill us, the other day, I know we're out of time, Mel fished 3 coins out of my system. 1 coin for me, 1 for Erik, 1 for Mel. They have many issues for our debts to kill us. But you can't kill us. We are not the average people, like the ones you've taken out. We are divine. We are divine creatures in human bodies doing a job for the light. Okay? So you just heard Michael. It's over. And he doesn't bluff. Okay, Erik, what do you want to leave with my viewers before we wrap?
Well, I'm a little disappointed that what are you getting ready for a joke, Jennylyn?
You come on with that face. Okay, just give it to us, Erik.
Well, I'm a little disappointed that I'm only worth 1 coin. I feel like it should be more, at least 5.
Yes, yes.
But overall, I mean, we did a lot of good work this week. You know, anytime that we get to release and help people that are being trafficked, that's a huge success for us. And I think it's, you know, it's soul cleansing for everyone. And, you know, it just kind of keeps you like, hey, you know, there are still things here on this plane that still need to be done. As opposed to, you know, sometimes we get stuck in the spirit realm and you know, so it's nice to do something in the present time sometimes. I get a lot out of that because I like helping people, and I know Mel and Jennylyn are the same way. So anytime we get a chance to do something positive for people, you know, outside of our, you know, main mission of things, like I'm glad to help. So, you know, it's this week was a success where last week when we talked, we were struggling with some things, but like Mel said a little bit ago, we received a few answers that kind of plugged in some things that made things make sense from last week. So I think we have a pretty good grasp on where things are going right now and what our roles are and how we're gonna accomplish success.
Thank you, Erik. Thank you, Mel. And for those of you watching, and I hope this message reaches a lot of people. Some days I go to work and I tell my friends, I was on the phone with Mel and Erik for almost 4 hours, and I'm not exaggerating. We literally spend 3, 4 hours almost every night on the phone. And I know for Erik it's torture because he hates being on the phone, and a few nights he's passed out. Did you really, Erik?
Sometimes, yeah.
Or sometimes I wonder if he wants to escape it because I mean it's great because we're helping people, but it's 3, 4 hours sometimes of people's sleep time. And I know that both Erik and I retire early during the week because we wake up early, but Mel does too. She wakes up early. And so, you know, we are eating into our sleep time, but for us, it's a worthy cause. And my suffering is worth it when at the end of the night we set a lot of people free. So, for those of you who want to kill us, and for those of you who want to stop us, you have stopped many in the past, but you will not stop us because God's children, God's human creations, the same vessels that you live in, that you feel you're entitled to traffic, abuse, use, practice cannibalism on other humans, you do not have the right to do that. If you want to behave this way, then do it with yours. You are not allowed to take God's innocent who are already struggling and do what you've been doing to them. You heard from Archangel Michael. The time is up because the three of us are not the only three on the planet on this mission. So you're going to be killing a lot of people if you think that's how you're going to stop this. It cannot be stopped. You need to stop trafficking God's creations. And as long as I am breathing, I am not going to stop because they are my sisters and my brothers. And I promised the heavens when I came here that I will do my part to stop it. And I mean it. And we will be back next week, hopefully, with more good news. Bye!